How eBay lost China to Alibaba. Imagine a company entering a market by acquiring the dominant player, one that already controlled 85% market share. On paper, this sounds like guaranteed success. You're buying the market leader outright, so you should automatically become the market leader too, right? But this is exactly what happened to eBay when they entered China. In under 4 years, the market dominance they had inherited, that 85% share, completely collapsed, replaced by a local competitor that didn't even exist when eBay first entered this market. In this video, we're breaking down how eBay could lose such massive market dominance so quickly, and how their strategic mistakes ended up paving the way for the birth of one of the largest e-commerce giants in the world, Alibaba. In 2002, eBay entered the Chinese market by acquiring a 33% stake in EachNet, the country's leading e-commerce company, for an investment of $30 million US. A year later, in 2003, they increased their ownership to full ownership with an additional investment of $150 million US. At the time of this acquisition, EachNet already had more than 2 million users and controlled around 85% of China's C2C, consumer-to-consumer, market share. That's an incredibly massive market dominance. Given the scale of this dominance, analysts widely expected that this rebranded eBay version, later known as eBay EachNet, would easily replicate the great success eBay had already achieved in the United States. This was an expectation that sounded extremely reasonable. They had bought the dominant market player, so success should have been little more than a formality. But eBay's arrival triggered an unexpected reaction from the figure who would become their biggest competitor, Jack Ma. Jack Ma saw eBay's presence as a direct threat to his own Alibaba customer base. In response, he launched a consumer-to-consumer platform to compete directly with eBay, a move that was purely defensive in nature, designed to protect his own business territory. He named this new platform Taobao, meaning digging for treasure. This name quickly became widely recognized across China, even as most people in the Western world at the time had never heard of it at all. This was a fairly modest beginning for a platform that, over the following years, would completely transform China's e-commerce landscape. The most critical strategic mistake came when eBay decided to terminate EachNet's homegrown technology platform and migrate all its users onto eBay's global platform based in the United States. This was an extremely risky decision, scrapping a system that had already proven successful and was already well known to millions of local users, in favor of unifying everything into a single global platform that may not have been designed with China's specific market needs in mind. The impact was felt almost instantly. On the day this migration was carried out, traffic to eBay China dropped by half. Just imagine the scale of this impact, losing half your traffic in a single day, as a direct result of one technical decision made from a headquarters far removed from local market realities. Perhaps even more concerning than the migration's impact itself was how information about this failure was communicated, or rather, wasn't communicated, up to company leadership. eBay's CEO at the time, Meg Whitman, reportedly didn't even learn about the extent of the damage from this migration until a month later, during a visit to Shanghai. She was described as being shocked and upset because not a single person, not even the head of eBay International, had told her about the problem. This is an extremely serious warning sign about how information flowed, or rather failed to flow, within a large organization like eBay. A decision this significant, with such massive and immediately visible impact, shouldn't have taken a full month to reach the CEO's ears. The core problem underlying all of this was that eBay tried to force its global strategy onto a Chinese market that was still in its early stages of development, without genuinely adapting it to local conditions. They ran operations out of the United States, delivered customer service inadequate for local Chinese consumers, and stuck with the auction model, something that had already proven successful in the United States, even though local Chinese consumers actually preferred a fixed-price sales model. This is a pattern of mistakes that's become extremely familiar across other failed cases of international expansion. Assuming that a formula successful in one market will automatically succeed in another without genuinely understanding local consumer preferences and habits that are actually very different. Meanwhile, Taobao took a completely different approach. They built features genuinely designed specifically for the needs and habits of Chinese consumers. One of their key features was displaying a real-time online status icon next to every seller's name, paired with an integrated instant messenger system they called Wang Wang. This feature let buyers chat directly with sellers who were actively online, creating an interaction far more personal and real-time compared to the more impersonal, asynchronous shopping experience on eBay. This is a perfect example of how understanding local communication and interaction habits can create an extremely significant competitive advantage. Chinese consumers at the time deeply valued the ability to communicate directly and in real time with sellers before making a purchase, something entirely overlooked by eBay's more globally standardized business model. This difference in approach was reflected very clearly in customer satisfaction scores. Beijing-based research firm iResearch found that Taobao's satisfaction rate stood at 77%, compared to just 62% for eBay EachNet. Jack Ma himself summed up his confidence at the time with an extremely memorable, iconic line: "eBay may be a shark in the ocean, but I am a crocodile in the Yangtze River. If we fight in the ocean, we lose, but if we fight in the river, we win." This is an extremely fitting metaphor for describing this situation. eBay was an incredibly powerful global player in their own ocean, the American market and various other international markets. But in the Chinese river, a battlefield with its own very specific characteristics and rules, their global advantage actually became a weakness because they didn't genuinely understand the currents and depths of that river, while Taobao, as the local crocodile, understood every corner of it perfectly. By March 2006, Taobao had successfully overtaken eBay, EachNet, to lead China's C2C market with a 67% market share, while eBay EachNet had plunged to just 29%. To put just how dramatic this reversal was into perspective, let's compare it with the situation back in 2003, just 3 years earlier, when eBay's Chinese division still controlled 72.4% market share, while Taobao held only about 7.8%. This is an extremely extreme reversal of positions in a remarkably short amount of time, from dominating nearly 3/4 of the market to controlling less than a third, while a competitor once nearly insignificant managed to seize the majority of the market. This stands as one of the most dramatic market share reversals in the history of tech business competition. Facing mounting losses that could no longer be justified from a business standpoint, eBay finally shut down eBay EachNet and tried entering into a joint venture with Chinese internet company Tom Online, a last-ditch effort to salvage their presence in this market. But this rescue attempt ultimately failed to turn things around. eBay eventually exited the Chinese market entirely in 2012, closing a chapter that had lasted a full decade, from the optimism-filled acquisition in 2002 to their complete departure 10 years later. Looking back on this case, analysts point to the same lesson that keeps repeating across various other failed cases of international expansion. eBay simply didn't genuinely understand the market they were trying to win. This failure ultimately became the exact opening Jack Ma needed to build Alibaba into China's dominant e-commerce force, a business empire that today stands as one of the largest tech companies in the world. eBay's story in China teaches us something extremely important. Acquiring the market leader isn't a guarantee of long-term success if you then strip away everything that made that market leader successful in the first place: their local technology system, deep understanding of consumer habits, and flexibility to adapt to unique local preferences. Forcing a uniform global strategy onto a market with very different characteristics, even if it looks efficient on paper, can be a mistake that swings the door wide open for local competitors who genuinely understand their own river. If you enjoy global tech business case studies like this, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss other case studies on global business successes and failures. See you in the next video.